Thanks, everyone. So I am very honored to have Senator Bill Armstrong joining us. He has worked with a group to write this book, and it's the Touchwood Hills People, Our Land, with a name in Cree that I'm sure he will pronounce, and I'm not going to butcher at this point. It's published by Touchwood Agency, Tribal Council, and Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Centre. He's done this work with Andrew Miller himself and Miriam McNabb, with collaboration from Saskatchewan Indigenous Cultural Centre and First Nations University of Canada, by elders of the Daystar First Nation, George Gordon First Nation, Quakatus First Nation, and Musqueam First Nation. So I am very honored to introduce Bill and have him share a little bit about his book.
Thank you. The rationale that we did the book, I think, happened a few years back. As you're probably aware that our language is we're slowly losing language, and as a result, we're forgetting the history of our people. And so we recorded the elders, the stories behind it, the story behind the Manitou Beach lake, as well as the story behind the lake, and that it happened many years ago, according to the elders, that at one point in time with the Cree band, and that they had a few of the members sick with measles. So anytime a person was diagnosed with measles, it was sure death that you're going to face. So they left the three of them over across there to meet the Maker, I guess, our great Creator. They left them there, and during the night, one of the warriors was getting thirsty, and he was breaking out in fever, so he kind of rolled down that hill on the north side there, and he came down to the lake, and he drank some of the water, and he bathed in the water, and lo and behold, next morning he woke up. He was cured of the measles death, so he raced back up to the hill and told his comrades what he did, and them too, they came down. And that's the story that formulated to the name of the lake, Manitou Lake. Manitou Saigagan, we call it, yeah. It's across the lake, it was all plains Cree and plains Pseudo. And there was a lot of Cree, plains Cree. We went and visited there this spring on May 4th. We had a youth conference here on May 3rd and 4th. On a Saturday, we went over, and one of the farmers invited us over, and we seen some of the rock displayed there. And one of those rock was red rock, and the only rock you can find that around this area is in the Rocky Mountains. But that rock did come from there. Our Plains brothers stayed in Alberta. The Sudos were in Manitoba. When we were there, the teepee rings, the doors of the teepees turn facing south. Those are Cree and Assiniboines. The ones facing east, the teepee rings, the entrance, that's plain Pseudo. So there is a difference between the rock formations. And they were telling us, how come the teepee rings are a little bit bigger? Well, the rocks were meant to hold the teepees intact. So when they unfolded, they kind of kicked the rocks out, so it made the teepee a little bigger than it was. And that's why the formation of the rocks there as well. On the west side, there's a big rock called Mistessini. The big rock is where our people used to go and use the rock as a medium to carry the prayers to our good Lord, the Creator, and that. So that's the place of Manitou Saigakan. I want to first, this is our book called Pasagana Tik Taskina. It means Pusagan is something that grows on a birch tree. It's a kind of a fungus, and they use the story. It isn't here, but the story I heard, there was a couple, and his wife apparently was had cancer, and then he prayed to the Creator, to the grandfathers that night, and they told him what to do. You take that pusagan, they call it, off the birch tree, and you mess it up and make it into tea. So he did that, and he gave it to his wife. And 3-4 days after, his wife was healed from cancer, and that's how powerful the plant was. And the area is called pusagan. That's the medicine. That's part of the birch tree, and that's what the people are called in touch with. I know I was making a presentation in Nokomis a few weeks back, and there was quite a few at the town hall, and I was talking to some of the old timers. They said, hey, I remember going to Poor Man's. There was no wood that time around Nokomis. I remember going to Poor Man's, they said, with my dad. We used to go trade for wood, because that's a big wooded area, and there's no wood in Nokomis, so they go there, camp one night, and come back home with your dad. I said, what is the matter with that picture? How come it doesn't happen? You know, those are the very questions that we generally ask. That's why I think doing this kind of book and the work that we're doing will hopefully bring some reconciliation and get the communities working together. I think that's the purpose of our book. I just want to tell you a story about how the creation story goes there. It's kind of unique. It's the story told by my father-in-law, and it's all about this trickster that we call Wisekaitak, Nenapos and Suru, where he's been told that there is going to be a great flood. And it does happen, and he seeks the friendship of some animals in that, notable the beaver, the muskrat, and the wolf, and the otter. But anyway, the flood happens. He's told how what to do and to build a raft and that. So he gets the beaver to commit to in finding the logs and that. He builds a big raft, and it starts to rain, and keeps on raining till everything is flooded. And then at the end, he's wanting some piece of earth, and first of all, he sends the wolf, and he's unsuccessful. He drowns, but he blows life back to him. I don't know if you ever hear of the seashells along the lake. If you listen to it, you could hear that ocean. And my uncle Steve was just telling me, listen to it. And I was listening, all I could hear was the wind. He said, that when you hear, and there is the very thing that happened to Wisekaitak when he was blowing the life back into the wolf. And the same thing happened to the beaver, and the last one he had dived into the water was a muskrat. And he came back and he found some dirt on his paws. And he took this dirt and blew it into the Turtle Island that we know it today. And to determine the size of this island here, he sent a wolf, a young pup at initial stage, to go around this island. He went around from one end to the next, and he came back many years later. It wasn't big enough for it. It's actually sent another young pup. This time he was gone a long time. By the time he came back on the east side, this pup was already an old fogey like we are. He was up running and hardly moving. But he said the land is big enough. And this island we have called Canada in the United States called Turtle Island. I often wonder how come they knew the island itself would look like a turtle. Yet we didn't have no cameras, we didn't have technology like we have nowadays to determine that this great place was Canada. And that we call it Canada. Is how we call it. It's a it's a place, a great place to live. That's basically free. And the other thing that I kind of want to mention, our first day of first month of the year is April. That's when everything grows, everything comes to life. It's not January or anything. It's always April. So we enjoy the beginning of life in April. And we have our stores in here. There's Manitou Beach. There's the Buffalo Child Rock just south west of here. Initially, all the Plains Crees came and bought their people here in the spring and camped across the lake to treat their sick people. And then they left from here. They went to Child Buffer Rock, it's called. It's a stone that was blown up in 1966 by the provincial government, and it was the story was that it was a young buffalo that was that raised a First Nation child. They're out. The tribe was going by there, and they lost this kid that was with a group of dogs and that, and dogs somehow I guess must have left them, but they left the kid there, and two buffaloes came along. They wanted to claim the child, and then they had a contest, and they said, okay, whoever can run the fastest will take care of the child. So the oldest buffalo there won, and he kept the child, but the young buffalo wanted the child to be killed because it didn't belong to the buffalo clan. So, but anyway, the old buffalo said, well, to keep peace amongst us, I want to transform me into a stone. And that's where the Buffalo Child Rock was situated, and it was blown up by the provincial government in 1966. If I can remember that date, my uncle of mine went over, he was a chief, went over to Regina to try to prevent them from blowing up the rock. But anyway, the answer that he caught, we'll blow it up, John, into the lake, and then we'll take all the pieces and we'll put them all together. They didn't tell him the rocks are going to be this big. It's just too small to put together, but the rock is in Deep and Baker Lake now. So those are the stories that we have. Also, the one about Long Lake too is another one. We kind of ventured, we were kind of nomadic in life, so we went to there, then people went to their home territories. We used to come here in 1939 was the last time I read about. There was a powwow here by Mrs. White. I think she had something to do with dancehall, but anyhow, he had a special ceremony for a gentleman named Charlie Gallagher, and a chief of our band called him Little Manitou. So it meant a small chief or something, and he was presented with a headdress. And I often wonder, I kind of want to meet the family and see if they still have the headdress with them. We didn't have, so it'd create a nice story for First Nations. So we're working a lot with Manitou Beach right now to create some kind of indigenous dialogue between and reconciliation between the beach and First Nation Touchwood. So we have, I enjoy coming here. I developed a lot of friendship amongst the not First Nations here, so I'm happy that I'm presenting. So, but I got some orders from certain people that are going to order. We're selling the book at $20 a copy, so we hopefully, I just can't forget before I get off the stage. We had a youth conference there. I think there was 90 students from town of Watrous. We had 140 students from the hills, Touchwood Hills. And we had a lot of information sharing. I think it's two-way. And we're having also one on 19th, 20th, and 21st want to try. And I was just having Gary see if we could get one of the presenters out there to present to our youth from Touchwood. So, and it's going to be this month. I'm hoping that he does come. He's a former teacher from here. So, with that, thank you very much. Your Honor.